I'm like, I continue to be blessed because I'm a blessing to others. Like, that's what I do. That's what you give is what you're gonna get in return. We always searching for the come up, or like, how about you be the next come up for somebody else, and maybe something will come up for you.
Welcome to Surviving and Thriving, the Black Experience. Here we talk about the real adversities Black Americans face while navigating corporate spaces, educational institutions, and the justice system. We name the pressures, expose the barriers, and share strategies to help you adapt, endure, and move forward while protecting your peace. So let's get into today's discussion. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Surviving and Thriving the Black Experience. I am CandiceRennee, and we are back with the wonderful Ciara Ward, who is going to take us on a journey and continue to take us on this journey in regards to the plethora of roles that she's in fact had, that she currently does now, and how she supports the community that she lives within and beyond. So, without further ado, hi, Ciara.
Hey, I'm so happy to be back.
Welcome, welcome. I love your sweater. That is so cute. What does it say to you? I want everybody to see
You
what.
got a friend in me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Look, that's how we starting this off today.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go ahead and touch base because we talked a little bit about you being a mom, and a little bit into it, but I just very much want to highlight the significance of you being a mother. And I want to ask, as a parent, how did your own upbringing influence the way that you show up for your babies?
Honestly, I wanted to do it different for them. I was just having a conversation with somebody about having kids actually last night. And I've just talked about, like, when you have a kid, I don't understand why a lot of parents really repeat the cycle. I knew I wanted to give especially my son, a better life, a different life than what I did. I mean, what I had experienced growing up. I feel like he kept me living and kept me wanting to be the best I possibly can be. And then I had a daughter too. So, yeah, I just wanted to do it different for them. I didn't want to do this generational curses. Like, I just didn't want to do that anymore. But it definitely, some things did influence, like some of the things how I talk to my kids. The first time I'm just be transparent. When my son was, I think, I don't know, he was young, younger than 3. I had tapped him like that, and the look on his face, it felt like he was so shocked that I did that. And I was just like, I never want to put my hands on my kids ever again, because I knew when I grew up, I feel like my mom whooping me, it made me fear her
Mhm.
instead of feel safe with her. And I didn't want my son to fear me. I did not want my children to fear me at all.
I respect that because as a black woman, I mean, I grew up in regards to getting spankings, here and there. And I always taught the concept of like spare the rod, spoil the child. But then I have friends as well who've never been spanked or maybe have had that incident, or had not an incident, but had that situation of where like there's different ways to in fact parent, and communication is really really important.
Yeah.
Once you in fact invoke fear in your child, it can in fact pretty much be like that door being closed in
Mm-hmm.
regards to communication with your child. If you find out what I did, I'm going to be in trouble. So
Yep.
I respect that. I definitely do. um what part of your healing became non-negotiable once you became a parent?
I feel like as of recently, I feel like I've been on a journey of healing. I think healing is a lifelong journey. And I think right now where I stand, I feel like the biggest non-negotiable is my kids' safety in their environment. Because although I want my children to have a relationship with their family, extended family, I don't want them to be in around negativity, because your environment, it impacts your mental health. It impacts your belief in self. Around a lot of people, and they're like, oh, I hate myself, or, like, everybody against me. Your mind is hearing those comments, or you think that's a good idea, or those people, just you got to get people before they get you mindset. I don't want that to be something my kids experience. And I wanted to add to when you said spare the rod, spoil the child. So when I was in college, undergrad, I took a religion course and it was really interpreting the Bible. And they were talking about a lot of us interpret it in current times, but when the Bible was written, it was so long ago. And it was like that scripture comes from a shepherd, and you hear shepherd all the time because shepherds use a rod to guide the sheep. It wasn't to spank them. So the rod is to guide the sheep, which
Mm-hmm.
is the children. You're supposed to guide them, not beat them with the rod, guide
Mm-hmm.
them. And yeah, I feel like now everybody, they like, oh my goodness, your kids are the most emotionally intelligent. They're very they're outspoken, but not in a disrespectful way. They're truthful. And what I say about parent is the word transparent is in that word. I'm like, you can't even spell transparent without parent. I think the best thing to be is transparent, because it instills trust.
Mm-hmm. I,
So
I can No, I completely align with that. As I said, like in our previous video, I have a younger brother and sister. And so with my mom, I very much see the difference of how she in fact raises them, where it's very much more communication. It's very much more, hey, you're not getting a spanking for doing everything. I want to understand your process behind doing what you did, and things of such. And I remember, I'm like, back in the day, I'm like, you grabbed that house shoe so quick.
yeah.
Yeah. You know,
A lot of things
but
are changing, but I feel like that's for the better.
mhm.
Communication goes a long way. And if a child feels like they can talk to you, you'll know more about the issues than their friends. They'll come to you when they need you the most.
I appreciate that. And my side audience, please make sure you take notes, have your pen and your paper, because this is
Mhm.
information that you should be able to look back and flip back on.
I know. I used to teach parenting classes. I don't really do it as much, but when I was a probation officer,
Mhm.
that's where I got my training. I trained to be a parenting facilitator to teach parenting class. And it was one thing we learned, and it was about the fear thing. And they gave the analogy of a police officer. You know, when it's late at night and you at that red light and it says no turn on red. And
Mhm.
a lot of people will go, but if a police was there, you won't go. And I'm like, because I mean, sometimes it's a fear of getting a ticket or the fear of anything, but if nobody's looking, and that's also in alignment with integrity. I'm like, and I really instill integrity in my kids. What you do when no one's looking. I feel like a lot of people don't do that. And I'll just say this and then it's this thing too. A lot of people, I just seen something recently. A woman, she was a teacher, and it came to find out she was like abusing her kids. But in the school, everybody's like, she was the nicest teacher. Everybody loved her. You save all this positivity for the people you work with and you're extended. But when you go home, you a different person. And I'm
Mhm.
like trying to instill that in my kids, like you want to be yourself no matter who you're around. That's what real true integrity is. Being yourself all the time, no matter what's going on or who is around. Yeah.
Look around today's classrooms. Screens are everywhere. Tablets, iPads, and even smartboards. Technology is moving faster than ever before. But in a classroom full of screens, something important is slowly being forgotten. The simple magic of opening a book and seeing yourself inside the story. I wrote the Forgotten Page to remind children that books still matter and that every child deserves to see themselves represented in stories they read. This heartwarming story follows Paige, a book who feels forgotten when technology begins to replace reading in the classroom, until children rediscover the power of turning real pages. The Forgotten Page is available on Amazon in English and in Spanish for classrooms, libraries, and families who believe in the power of stories. Because sometimes the stories we almost forget are the ones children need the most. I think that's so important. I really want people to take heed to that. It's really important to be authentically yourself in every single space.
Yeah.
Someone should not be able to metaphorically, right, pull your card. You shouldn't have to show up a certain way in a workspace with certain
Hmm.
friends in
Yeah.
certain areas, around certain people, in certain spaces. Like you should be able to authentically be yourself because you should want to be your true self no matter where you're at. So I just
Yeah.
want to make sure I re-highlight that. Um, you were talking about in regards to being a probation officer, so I want to kind of go there just for a little bit. Tell us about how you went into that field. How did you get in that field? And tell us about just how it was when you were within it.
It really was, I feel like I was just saying it too. I feel like my life has been perfectly written. I mean, scripted, I don't know. But when I was working as a public defender, I got offered the job in Miami to be a public defender. And my supervisor, he knew I didn't want to leave. And
Mhm,
honestly, I really didn't want to work in that public defender field, honestly.
mhm.
But so he just went across the hall. He was like, yeah. So that's how I really got into probation. He went to talk to the woman, the HR. And that's honestly how I got into it.
Okay.
I wasn't even planning on it.
How long were you within the field?
I was a probation officer for like 7.5 years.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
tell us about the ups and the downs because when I think of, let's say 60 days in or something, you hear these conversations of, this person is getting out and you think of probation arbitrarily where someone has an ankle monitor, they go home and that's it. What dynamics is it that the public doesn't typically understand about being a probation officer and or being on probation?
I don't know what the public, I feel like there's a stigma towards people on probation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because you don't really know what they did. And I had the domestic violence, family violence caseload, and I just said this, and it was like, but I was like, honestly, I didn't want that caseload either, but I didn't want sex offender caseload either.
Right.
Um, but it was really a lot of honestly, it was showing how I feel like it was really sad. Like with family violence, I got a lot of cases where one family member would call because honestly, it was pending like their mother had passed away and they were trying to keep the other sibling from getting the money. It was like some petty stuff, but it was really also you don't know the impact that you're making. And also domestic violence, a lot of couples, they get into it, but they're still together. And I would encourage like I don't know. When I started working with the guys, mostly guys, I did have some women. Um, I just saw them as a person who may have made a mistake or, whatever. They were triggered based off something from childhood. And honestly, I saw a lot of low self-worth and really building it back up. Yeah, honestly, like why would you want to be with somebody who has an order of protection? I don't care if they're in the waiting room with you. I've seen a lot of the women holding this over a guy's head for control, or some people did it for property. It was a lot of property and things like that, but it was some cases. Honestly, it was only one case I was really scared for my life, and I ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna say for my life, but I was scared to be alone in a room with the guy because he didn't have a awareness of what he did was wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and he choked the person, and he was like, "I just choked her." And I'm like, you don't know your strength. Choking is worse than hitting because you don't know when that person can die, honestly. It could
Mm-hmm.
take once you hit the right artery or vein, like that person could die. Um, and yeah, and he choked the woman right in front of the police officer, and he just like did not understand why he got in trouble. And that was like it was scary for me. But other than that, I feel like it was a really I liked it. I loved it. I love I love the guys that I worked with. A lot of them came back. You helped me, you changed my life. I was a therapist in that role. I just didn't even know it. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
say healer because that's what I say I am. I've been a healer in all my roles that I've done throughout my life.
Okay. Well, I think that's really intriguing because I I can understand being in a space with someone and being like, you don't even think you wrong. You're like minimizing what in fact happened. You don't understand that that was not the right thing to do. So you
Yeah.
don't have a grasp for reality at this point. So I can definitely see that be in a really tricky situation because you still have to have professional decorum. You have to seem, not seem, you have to be unbiased in that situation. But first and foremost, you're a woman. And
Mhm.
so, I can very, not kind of, I can absolutely see where there's like a double-edged sword to it to a certain extent. But I want to ask you, as a public defender, uh, what's something that the public thinks happens in court that is completely disconnected from reality?
So I want to just give my I'm gonna say flowers. I love giving flowers to public defenders. I feel like it's a very hard job, and I think a lot of people don't give them the courage. I mean, I'll say the acknowledgement that they deserve, because a lot of people like don't get a public defender. They're not going to help you, and that's what my job was, mitigation specialist, to help people get the lowest amount of time as possible to explain why you did this crime. But public defenders are um overworked, but they could take more money. They can go into private practice. They can, go and charge large amounts. They can go work as I mean, state's attorney is kind of the same, but they do it at a low cost, and they're doing it because they genuinely care about people. Like, they care about what they do. It's like similar to, honestly, I compare it to like Parent Parenthood. Like, those doctors at the free clinics, they could open up their own private practice. They can go work at a major hospital, but they choose to really work with people who cannot afford the care, or public defenders who cannot afford an attorney. Yeah, they are overworked because they have a lot of cases, but they genuinely do want to make a difference. So, I would say that's the thing. I think a lot of people, like, they don't trust it, but it's your only option. Give that person a chance. Like, that's what I'll say.
Huh?
They do something a lot of people can't do, because I couldn't do it. But somebody has to do the job.
Right, I can imagine. I mean, like you said last time we were talking, and I was asking about like caseloads and stuff. We think, or I can even say for myself, I always think of caseloads like, oh, okay, like they probably like 10, like 15 cases. And then you're like, no, like it's
That's
quite
probably
a
10 or
bit.
15 in one day.
Yeah, and it's like, so then I guess my question is like, how do you individually get to know these people? And it's kind of like you don't. And so you don't get I won't say you won't be properly defended. It's not that, but it's a concept of the person. Your life is put in the hands of someone who only knows you by the name that's written down at the top. And having to in fact understand within a matter of time or moment, what is in fact going on. So I mean, it's that job, like you said, it's not for the faint of heart, but I definitely do give them their flowers as well, because like you said, it's a choice. They're choosing to in fact defend. They have the same degrees that someone can in fact do just to be an
Exactly.
actual attorney.
Hmm.
It's just they have that compassion in their heart to want to in fact, want to help. So there's a caveat to it. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
if you're so
And
compassionate, then you
they
go ahead and you help everybody then.
Yeah, because they do have the time. It depends on the case. Like, some cases last long. Like, I think I worked there for almost a year, and I know the one of the attorneys that I worked with, he had a case like the whole entire time. The case has been since, like, it was like, I don't know, 2008. So yeah, and like I said, my position was working to get as a mitigation specialist, to get the least amount of time possible. So I went inside the jails to visit, and I went to talk to some of the families, the hospitals, get all the records. Yeah. If it's a petty crime, you may not, but you'll talk to the person right beforehand to get whatever information you can. Like, give us all the positive we can get for you, or circumstances that may have. And I'll say, in everything that we do too, transparency is key. Like, the more honest you are, of course, if you did something, but if you didn't do something and you know you don't deserve that as much time or whatever, just talk about your truth. Talk about what you've been through quickly. As much you can say a lot in a little time, and then talk about what you're doing and what your plans are, especially if you have them.
I appreciate you. I very much appreciate you saying that if you do have time to say what's going on, because when I think of like TV shows and like court TV shows and stuff, you'll hear like the attorney say, this person's a mother, this person is this person is that, this person
Mhm.
is blah 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 blah. And then you'll hear other ones who will say this person just has a job that they need to get back to. But it's like,
Yeah.
where's the rest of that story of like what's going
Mhm.
on? I mean, I would rather if I was in a case, a situation like that, Lord forbid, but if I ever was, I want you to know my whole entire story because I'm not just that one thing.
Yeah. Yep. And it's important. The more
So,
human you are, the more compassion I think people show. So
hmm how often, when it comes to the Black community, right, specifically, how often do you see Black defendants enter the system, particularly already labeled, or do you see them already labeled before they even like speak?
honestly, I feel like it wasn't like you said. Like it may be like the overhead it's a lot of injustice, but I didn't really see it like we'll see it on TV or how things are done.
Okay.
I really don't know the back end of like this judge know this attorney, but sometimes I did see stuff like that, but it
Hmm.
wasn't against a Black person. It was probably for a white person.
Hmm.
But honestly, the case, when I'm looking back at it, most of my cases honestly were Hispanics. I worked at 26 in California in Chicago,
Hmm.
and it was more Hispanics. And when I talk about the one case where I cried, it was a Hispanic guy. I don't think that he deserved to get that much time. Um, it was like a crime by association, like, when they like, right,
They're
roll,
there at the
roll
time.
time, yeah. Um, yeah, so I'm pretty sure it is. And I think with the criminal justice system, I don't think it is a lot about race, but I feel like that's more in the police end because the police officer who arrest people.
Hmm.
Um, but once you get in the court system, I think it's more so who you know. And that's just my truth.
Okay.
Um, who you know, and sometimes if you do get a public defender, it's still if that public defender is good and who they know, but also I feel like tell your story so that person I'm not trying to say it like that, but has sympathy for you. The more you tell your story, they will have sympathy for you. But I didn't really see a lot of it was Black defendants, probably a lot, but it was more Black and Hispanic. Honestly, it was a lot of uh Polish. It was a lot of different races,
Okay.
honestly.
'Cause Chicago's pretty much a melting
Yeah.
pot too, so that's not surprise. That's
Yeah.
not surprising at all.
And when I think about it, a lot of the Polish people, especially the guys, because I ended up getting a lot of the Polish speaking guys as clients when I was a probation officer.
Mhm.
It's a language barrier too. If they don't know the language, they can be held more like they're accepting anything. And also, um, a lot of the immigrants, and it's a big thing right now, especially with ICE and all of that. They're scared. They like, I gotta go back to work, and they'll just take a plea to get on probation because they don't want to be in jail. And a lot of people do. They take a plea because they don't want to sit in jail because they can't afford to bond. But Cook County is doing a lot of stuff. Like I know when I left to try to minimize like people having to sit because they can't afford the bill. But prior to when I was working with the public defenders, that wasn't a thing. But when I became a probation officer, they did make that a thing. So people who couldn't afford the bail, they'll do an assessment. If it were low risk, they don't have to
They don't
pay.
have to pay.
Sometimes I think the immigrants had it worse, um, honestly, than the Black people. I feel like a lot of Black people, if you're resourceful, especially if you got a good Black woman on your side or something, but resourceful, I think we starting to learn the system more than some of the immigrants, honestly. And
Gotcha.
Chicago has a lot of immigrants.
Gotcha. What we talked about this a little bit, but like what role does money or the lack thereof play in outcomes in regards to cases, in regards to guilty and or innocent? I think you were mentioning like it's all in certain cases or certain
Yeah.
spaces, I should say, it's kind of like in who you know. Can you kind of like break that down? Not individual names or nothing like that, but just
Yeah.
like the overall picture of that.
I mean, outside of the public defender world, of course, a private attorney, they know the judge. Like Private attorneys go first. First of all, public defenders go last. If you have a private attorney, you will go first, and sometimes you don't even have to go into the courtroom. And I don't. This is the truth. Yeah, as a probation officer, I had a client. He was arrested over 100 sometime, and yeah, he had a great lawyer though. Um, yeah, it. And he used to be his lawyer used to be a state's attorney, so people he know the people in the system, like he knows the judges, and it does. That's it's who you know. I mean, but you got to afford to know those people to get off.
That part you have to afford to know them. That yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Noted people. I think we kind of talked about this too because I was asking people hear the word caseload but don't really understand it. And what does a real public defender caseload look like day to day? And how does the value impact the kind of justice clients receive? If I'm correct from what you were saying with that, it doesn't necessarily impact the justice they receive because you still have a job and an oath that you have to do regardless.
Hmm.
But it is a lot of things that you have to, in fact, do and tackle if I may ask, like, how many pages? Let's do that. Like, how many pages are in an actual, like, is it literally like how you be seeing it on TV? It's like two pieces of paper, one on one side, one on the other, with
It
the
just
front.
depends on the defendant. So if
Okay.
the defendant has a large arrest record or so many previous cases, of course the file could be long, but I don't think it's, I feel like it's over exaggerated. And I'll say too, I want to say I feel like in every profession there's
Mhm.
good people. I'm not even gonna say good. There's passionate people, and then there's people who, like, some people go in the field just like some people become a teacher just to wear their badge, or that they feel like it's prestige, or I'm doing a service, but they're really not passionate about the work that they do.
Mhm.
Same with public defenders. Some probably couldn't get, or they cannot maintain their own caseload, and this is their fallback. So I really do believe it's about the person and the character. It's about integrity. If you get a person of integrity working your case, that's just what it boils down to.
Gotcha. That actually kind of ties a little bit into this, but if you want to add to it, it's okay. The next question I was going to have is, what's one misconception about public defenders that you wish the Black community understood better?
Yeah, honestly, it's about the person. And sometimes you can ask for another one too. You can. We all have rights. Just like if you when I was a doula, a lot of people don't know that they can ask for somebody else to treat them. You don't have to be seen by a physician's assistant. Like you don't have to be seen by an intern or something like that, because it's a lot of people in training. Even in therapy, I have interns, but I'll just say give people a chance. Fill them out, see if they want to hear what you got to say. If you feel like you're not going to be heard, you know you're not going to get the best treatment. And see, yeah, I cannot afford, but I want to make sure I'm getting the best. See, you got to speak up for yourself. Sometimes you may get the worst type of judge and they don't want to hear you. You never know until you do it. I always say closed mouths don't get fed.
Looking back, what part of being a public defender changed how you view, and if you do, view law and order?
I don't know. I feel like once again, I feel like as I got older, even away from that job, it makes me respect them because when I got offered that the position in Miami,
Mhm.
I was just like I was nervous to still have the death penalty. And I was like, I didn't want to be tied to any case somebody gets the death penalty. So it takes courage to do a job like that because people's lives and freedom it are in your hand. Staying with a therapist or a doula or a doctor or, sometimes even teachers. I feel like law and order, I feel like it's always about, honestly, it's the person. Because right now, I talked about previously in the show, I used to fight a lot when I was younger. Um, and now I'll say, I joke, I just joke, like I'm Denzel Washington. I'm putting cases, I'm calling the police, like I just don't got time to lose my freedom over anything. I mean, I know how the system is. It's not the best, but it's not the worst either. It can protect you, or sometimes it can fail you. But me, I don't want to risk my freedom over anybody. Like nobody's worth it. Um, I believe in myself. I believe in our creator, and I feel like, yeah, with that that's where I see my law and order. Like I know it's justice because I'm gonna say I don't like saying a good or a bad person, but I'm a just person. I'm a person of integrity, and I do believe you reap what you sow. So whatever you put out there is that's the law and order I believe in. So I don't want to say I trust or not trust in the system, but I believe in and what you put out there is what you get. So
I respect that. And there's that key word again in regards to integrity
yeah.
and being your authentic self and having a true belief in regards to how you in fact show up. Meaning like you can't sit here and account for every single person on earth and how these people show up and how they perceive them. You can only show up in regards to yourself and fight for yourself if something does go awry.
Mm-hmm.
That makes complete sense.
I'll add this because
Uh-huh.
people like, how do you still make money? You always give it and you do this and you. I'm like, I continue to be blessed because I'm a blessing to others. Like that's what I do. That's what you give is what you're gonna get in return. We always searching for the next, the come up, or like, how about you be the next come up for somebody else and maybe something will come up for you. So yeah, being a blessing. This is how I stay blessed. So yeah.